Welcome everyone, Dr. Thor here. Get ready for Gnosis. We're going to look at an interesting little unit here. Again, this was purchased several years ago, and it is one of these orgone type units. And we're going to show you some of it, even in this video that is for the public. But we're going to go in depth looking at this in our actual Patreon page. These things are not free. If you want to see stuff like this, want to see the guts of things are, what people are doing, what the kind of energy flow is, well, you've got to participate. You got to be supporting our radionic tech so we can find out, get to the end of it. What makes all the things tick? Of course, I know exactly how radionic works, what you have to do, what the energy is, how to harness it, how to project it. I've discovered all of this and really have fine-tuned it now, and we are putting out a whole new line of products which you'll be seeing soon, using all this kind of energy and then the proper ways to amplify it. Now let's do the energy check. Now, is this positive? Right spin, negative, left spin, or neutral? Oops. Again, this is our fantastic radionic pendulum, which has all the things you need. So is this positive, negative, or neutral? Well, of course, this goes into a pretty strong negative spin, as all orgone does, because orgone or orgonite, as we know it as of today, was discovered by and propagated by Carl Hans Wells, a noted Satanist, bad doer, and as we allege, hooked up to a bunch of criminals, as his whole organization was. This guy was running a huge satanic cult, involved in all sorts of negative practices, and this was not hidden. It was on his website with his phone number to call him because he wanted to make sure. And of course, his great, wonderful technology. His wife died at 70. He died in his middle 70s himself. So all the great empowerment that orgone gives you, or at least orgonite, not like the original orgone that Wilhelm Reich was involved in, was the fact that all of that goes into that is really negative. But Wilhelm Reich, of course, had an interesting energy, it's fascinating, and so is orgone in general, particularly its rain-making, cloud-busting technology. Certainly is something we need to investigate in, but that is certainly has no semblance to orgonite, which is a contrivance of a very bad person who fortunately now is dead. So the whole idea is that since this is orgone based, you can see these kind of things on the side here, which is a tube of orgonite, whatever this guy thinks. It has your typical one dial from 0 to 10, and that seems to spin fine in the proper order. It has one plate here. This is a copper plate again. We're not really sure if there's copper underneath it or if anything is connected to it. But you only have one dial. But this was supposed to condense orgone and then, or orgonite, and then you would put your picture on here and you would adjust the intensity to you. And of course, being very negative energy here, you can adjust the intensity, but you can't tune this for anything. So that's all this kind of unit worked, and it's based on all of that accumulation, and that's what you do with orgone. You accumulate it from the atmosphere, the polluted, terrible, messed up, and negative atmosphere, and then you're going to send it to yourself on here. Now, let's see. Let me look if I can get my what type of plate this is on here. Now, this does have an internal design, which is very interesting. And that internal design is a little fairly interesting accumulator system in here. And again, none of this stuff is available anymore. Let's look at this. Look at this. And the plate, again, very poorly done here. I mean, very unattractive. It's got a fairly strong plastic case. But again, it's just a plastic case. And with a circuit board, they don't even bother to go out and get pure copper. If you're going to use a conductive material, circuit board is really cheap to get. And of course, that's what they do. So this is a circuit board. You can see by the side here, it's not real plate. It really makes a problem there. How cheap can people do that? So these are the type of things that show you the kind of intent of this thing when you don't even, if you're going to use copper, it's not that expensive to get full pure copper plate. So, and it looks better. It conducts the energy better if you're into that. Of course, conductivity with radionics is unimportant because it's not electromagnetic in nature. You only have about 2 to 5% of the energy is tied into electromagnetics. This is a fairly decent dial because at least it has the numbers on the dial, which shows a more high quality dial. It's probably about $3 or $4 for a dial like this. It's big, it's easy to read, and it turns well. So the potentiometer that's underneath this, again, is a good, smooth one. And as I said, you've got these tubes here, which we're going to open up on Patreon to actually show you what's inside of it. But we're going to give you a quick one of our freebies here, which we usually don't do. Again, like this video, subscribe, and of course, support us on Patreon and go to all access to our website and become a member there as well. It's very important that you do that so we can continue our work here. And it's very important that we figure out, well, what's in these things? This technology and orgonite is a really bad technology, and it's done absolutely nothing. It's been around now for almost 30 years, and the inventor of it died young, and a lot of people that used his technology have died young and continue to be sick when using it. So orgonite, well, of course, why wouldn't you be? Look at the spin on this puppy. And again, this is not electric. Not only does it have a negative spin, like a lot of orgonite, it has a strong negative spin. Now, that breaks down your etheric bodies. Nothing negative is good. When you get a negative spin, things like rat poison, Drano, and numerous other toxic chemicals all spin negative. There's nothing that is negative that will spin positive, and vice versa. If something is good for you, it will spin clockwise. And if it's just a neutral energy, and we've seen that in several units, well, that is just a neutral energy, which I'm not a big fan of, but at least it's not negative. So I'm going to give you a little sneak preview here, and we'll go much deeper into this unit on Patreon. So I've already opened this. I played some games with the screws here, trying to hide what's inside, but this is an interesting and creative little unit here. He's got a typical potentiometer here. He does look like, see if we can pry some things out here. Because again, who's going to use this kind of unit that does put off negative energy? And why you have to use a big lump of plastic like this glue, this certainly is an insulator again. But it's got some interesting things in here, which certainly shows someone who's at least trying, but doesn't really get it. First of all, on this side, he's got a quartz crystal. Now, the problem with quartz crystals is that holds whatever energy goes into it, and clearing it out can be difficult. So it's never a good idea, really, to put a quartz crystal in a unit unless you have a capacity to clear it out. It does appear that and then we have it up in here. That those messy kind of screws there. We can get a better thing here. These messy kind of screws that are on the top here, he has connected a wire apparently. This wire is what connects to it, so that goes into the circuit. So it actually is making some sense there. And he does have one on both sides, it appears here. So again, there's a little bit of cognizance of what's going on here. But the fact that a big-time Satanist using criminal money pushed his orgonite stuff to get it to the public, people then bought into that because everybody else was pushed out of the business because of that. So, and of course, I worked with Welts for many years, and he tried to destroy the organization and the people connected to it. Now we're going to go. So you've got that. It is connected to the two plates here. We have a wire going down. That wire then goes into the pot. I don't know, both do, but it looks like they both did. There's a couple of interesting things here. You've got this crystal again, and you've got a little bottle here filled with liquid, and it has wire twisted around it. Now, one of the problems is when you insulate wire again, you're making an insulation here. This is insulated copper wire, just as this is insulated. Well, how are you going to transfer energy if you're insulating it? So, again, they don't get electric understanding again. This should have been bare wire if you're going to transfer energy from here to there. But doing that shows a lack of understanding of science. There's a lot of goop in here. I'm not sure that was needed to put all there, but it's an easy way to keep things in line. Again, there's no electricity. There's nothing going on. And this is a tube full of what I believe is orgonite, the poison that Wells did. But we're going to open that up in Patreon to find out what's in there. And, of course, you have this big lump of toxic crap in here. This is your typical orgonite stuff. Plastic with metal shavings. Aluminum, which is toxic. There doesn't seem to be anything else in here. I don't see any stones or other things, which a lot of people like to put in there. This is your typical resin with metal shavings in it, like that would do anything. But it does seem to harness the evil energies that Wells wants everybody to be brought into. And let's test this itself. Let's see. What is the spin on this? You always get it going back and forth, so you get your pendulum going. Does this have positive, negative, or neutral energy? And of course, like all orgone, this has negative energy. So actually, when you put aluminum in this plastic and whatever else they do, every orgone item I've tested so far has spun negative. It just shows you how bad that stuff is and what a con everybody has had about orgone. Now, if orgone was good, and of course Wilhelm Reich had some interesting stuff, I really can't figure out what anything he did was valid or not. You know, Wilhelm Reich was another kind of crazy guy, obsessed with sex. Orgone mean orgasm. And he ran into different problems with the law and everything else. Thought he could cure cancer and all sorts of things. We just don't know. He was about to be released from prison after violating a court order, and he died in prison apparently of a heart attack. Some people think he was killed, but I have no idea. I don't know if he was or not. These kind of stories, it's very difficult to prove, even though it's so obvious in this day and age when they murder people in prison, which happens all the time. So we just don't know. I mean, this guy was about to get out. Does that mean they wanted to take him out or whatever it is? And was he a big threat or not? Well, I'm not sure he really was in any way, shape, and form. But, you know, the criminal medical associations and the people that supply drugs, which is really the biggest industry in the world when you really get down to it, because people pay anything to live, obviously. So this is a cartel of the worst type. And of course, all sorts of criminals are involved with it, and this is all part of it. And certainly this garbage that you can see here has very negative energy. So let's hold it over here again. Let's find out, now that we've removed, and let's move this to the side. Is the negative coming from this unit? Positive, negative, or let's move to the center here. Positive, negative, or neutral. Well, it continues to spin negative. We've got a crystal in here that's full of negative orgone energy. We got some sort of bottle of goop here. And as you said, we're going to open that up and open this tube up here, which has got negative stuff in it, I'm sure, as well. And we'll show you exactly what's in there, but that's for greater investigation. But a fascinating little unit, someone who was thinking but must have hit his head a few times to be caught up in the lying type of uncredible garbage technology from a person who's one of the worst type of scums on the planet, involved in all sorts of negative and evil practices. And then, of course, the radionic community made sure they supported him for 30 years up until his death. That's the kind of silliness you run into while serious researchers are ignored. People have just not done their research. They have no idea what radionics is about. They have no idea of the energies involved. This has all been clarified in my subtle energy physics course, with an additional course in reaching the state of gnosis or high wisdom. And of course, my radionic course. All of these will be coming out in the next months, and you'll be able to get the full, complete, and proven story of subtle energy physics that you're only going to get from me, the only credible source out there. Everybody else is delusional. They have no idea what they're talking about. They have nothing to show for it, and they don't understand the energy period. And to have a plastic goop here with basically these are nothing more than aluminum shavings. And aluminum is not a good energy for your biomass. Aluminum is toxic. So when it's processed like this. So to think that this has any kind of value is a little bit ridiculous. But everybody fell into I can make that, Dr. Dora. It's just goop with shards of metal in it. Woo! So all that kind of crap is just that. It's just crap. And it does absolutely nothing, never have. And it just shows you how hype can grab people and how this hype, people then go out and use crappy products and through placebo effects, thinks they are getting results. But, there's really nothing proven. There's a lot of nonsense written on the net by delusional people who believe in nonsense, thinking they're taking something like this and throwing it on the ground and it's going to stop negativity and stop cell phone towers and all the things that go with it. Well, let's see that. Nobody can actually show me any of that stuff in action. And of course, there are groups of these delusional people who think that they can actually cure themselves and other things using crap orgone. And that's exactly what it is. There's absolutely no proof that any of this works, just like the SE5 crap that never has done anything. And there's really nothing out there except a box of wires for $5,000 or whatever the price is, whatever they can sucker out of you. So the whole idea is these are the type of things you run into, and the people in these fields have no credibility. They're not seeking to help the world, or they're not seeking anything other than filling their own pockets and thinking they're special. So it's all that kind of nonsense out there, which is, if we continue to believe in and support liars and disinformation agents, we'll never get anywhere. And of course, that's why we haven't gotten anywhere, because these kind of people and the people still make that crap stuff that Wells started with. They're still producing that today, and they're still toxifying people and the planet. And of course, we can see how wonderful this planet has evolved because of their trash energies. So we all have to be very careful of this. We have to know what we're doing, and you have to use credible products. So if you use something like this, and you put your picture on the plate here and adjusted this up to send that energy to you, well, you're going to make yourself sick. Well, of course, it's not going to kill you in a day, a week, or maybe even several months, but this is putting negative energy on you. And anybody that gets a device, check it yourself. You think I'm making the pendulum go in a particular fashion because that's part of my agenda? Well, you're a fool. And the bottom line is that I want to know what the truth is, and we want to find out how to use this technology, because this is a fool who's trying to do several different things and had some fairly decent ideas. I don't know what kind of liquid is in there. But the bottom line is this puts out huge amounts of negative energy. Not only is this negative, but everything else within this unit is negative as well, including this tube, the crystals, and whatever's in that little bottle. Certainly an interesting concept, but you have to be careful. Did he ever check this to make sure that his energies were right before selling it? Well, they don't. They put this stuff, they believe a evil, negative Satanist and his group, and this has been verified. So I've talked to people who know well, and as he said, he's been involved in this order, or was involved with it, and his friend who's now running the company is again been shown to be a Satanist, who I've been told and confirmed by many people. So the whole idea is this is all part and parcel of what's going on to the bigger picture. So we all got to keep that in mind. We're not going to get anywhere if we have bad technology. And if we follow up this bad technology with actually toxic technology, well, we're not only not going to get anywhere, people using this technology are actually hurting themselves. This technology energetically is dangerous and bad for you. I mean, everybody knows that, and you can test it yourself by getting Orgone products and find out what kind of spin they have. And see if they're putting out positive, negative, or neutral energy. And this, like all of Wells's designs, this isn't from Wells, but everybody that uses his technology, you'll see that all this stuff constantly spins counterclockwise and in a pretty severe fashion. Here we go again, counterclockwise. And as I said, find out for yourself. But if you're going to use junk like this, well, God help you. And I'll tell you right now, you're going to mess your life up seriously. If you have a Wells machine or technology like this, you need to get rid of it ASAP. It's going to toxify you, your environment, your family, your house, and everything else. This is not a joke, people. This is a reality that everybody has to face and be careful. We have enough toxicities in our life with horrible foods, terrible air, radiation we're being bombarded with all the time. We don't need to put more negativity directly into our aura by putting a photograph on something that puts out toxic energy. That's called insane. But if you're a Satanist, it's all part of their plan to toxify people and this earth and to move people into their satanic agenda. It's proven. We all know they're out there everywhere, and we have to be fully aware of the fact of what these scumbucket evil people are up to. And they're supported by the entire society structure, including all those fake Christians who love to support all the negative evil people, which they do to a high level, because they're cowardice pigs who basically, the minute they have a little pressure put on them, they fold like their belief system. Like a dead man on a stick. And that's how Christians operate, which is why they are useless and why the Satanists are just trampling on them and continue. So the Satanists out there, including E.A. Kennedy, who stated that Carl Welsh was his mentor, is back on YouTube and all the other places because they all work together, because certainly YouTube is nothing more than supporting all the kind of negative people out there, as so many of these organizations are that seem to support these people and have people in the organization working for them, which they all do. They're all bought off and blackmailed and everything else in all the major organizations, whether that's Google, YouTube, Facebook, and eBay and all those places. It's really sad. And of course, there's more than enough support by them, by the really weak-kneed, cowardice religious people in general. So I hope you enjoy that. If you want to see more in-depth look at this unit, make sure you join Patreon and we'll give you an in-depth look.